In this video, we'll look at some of the maths capabilities of the Learn Anything platform. We'll see the different ways that students can enter their answers, and we'll look at different types of questions. So a brief 2-marker here, a slightly longer, more GCSE style question, looking at how the AI marking adapts to different methods of solving a problem. We'll look at a drawn answer question on a solution set for an inequality. And we'll take a brief look at a longer A-level style question on vectors. So starting with a question like this, what if the student needs a little bit of help to get started? They can use one of the options here, and we'll choose Give me a hint. So the suggestion there is try subtracting 4 from both sides. Okay, let's give that a go. So maybe I do something like this, and I get that. So I've tried to subtract 4 from both sides. Obviously, I haven't got it quite right. You can see the marking has identified that I haven't done that, but it has given me a bit of a hint as to where I've made my mistake. I can then hopefully fix my mistake, and we'll see that the marking adapts accordingly. Let's say I then try and get the final answer, but I make the classic mistake of not switching the sign. And you can see it's identified that particular mistake. And I can then finally change that, and I've got that question correct. If I needed more help while I was working through that problem, there's a lot more I can do. So for longer questions, you can ask how I can make my answer better, and it will look at the maths and find ways to improve the answer. We can also bring in YouTube videos on topics, so these are automatically found to match the question that's been given. We can view a similar worked example, and here the AI will generate an example similar to the one given and solve it step by step so that students can see roughly how to do a question like that. And we can even generate a full course to lead the student up to solving the given problem. And we can specify the nature of that course. We can make it about football, or we can make it about anything that the student is particularly interested in. And then that course will be generated to contain a range of examples. Again, YouTube videos and all the information that a student would need to get to the level required to answer that particular question. And finally, we can create a task of similar questions. Again, we can add various statements that we want, and you can see this will then generate some more questions which will work in a very similar way to the one we started with. And you can see they get harder as they go along. For this second question, I'm going to switch over to my iPad so that I can use the handwriting function. So this allows me to use a stylus to enter my maths just as I would on paper. So I'm going to take 4,500 and divide it by 750 to get that ratio of 6. And then I'm going to find out the amount of wallpaper paste to start with. And I'll divide that by 6 to get my final answer. And I just press Insert Maths, and you can see it's done that correctly. It's added a comma there. I can just get rid of that very easily. Then I can submit that, and with any luck, it will mark it correctly. And then let's just switch back and make a mistake. So perhaps instead of 25, I wrote 30 there, or let's say 230. And then you can see it's identified the mistake that I've made, and it's pointed me to where I might need to fix that. But maybe I want to use a completely different method. So this time I'll use a ratio of 4,500 to 750, which is 6 to 1. I'll then again get my 150 and divide that by 6 to get my final answer. I can then, once again, insert my maths, submit that, and you can see the system has no problem at all allocating the marks to that completely different method. Now we'll have a look at the drawn answers to maths. The system can still process diagrams and things like graphs, or in this case, number lines. So here, the solution is x is less than or equal to 3. So I'm going to demonstrate that on a number line with a filled in circle, a number at 3, and then an arrow to the left. And when I submit that, you can see it's correctly marked that. Let's just do a couple of errors to see how it deals with those. So what if I draw my arrow the other way? Then the system will identify this and let me know. It looks like your arrow is pointing in the wrong direction. Similarly, if I draw a non-filled in circle and an arrow to the left, the system will identify that and let me know where I've gone wrong. For question 4, I've pre-entered a response for part A and B. Let's see how the system reacts. So it should be able to mark these two parts independently correctly, and indeed it has. So part B is completely correct. We've got 2 out of 2, but part A, I've made a mistake here, identifying this T. If I want a little bit more detail, maybe I can ask it to find my mistake, and then it will indeed identify that particular area, but it won't tell me the answer. It'll just tell me what I need to look at to help me get there. And then hopefully I'll spot that minus 2/3 t plus 1/3 t is actually minus 1/3 t, or t over 3. And then I can submit that, and now I've got full marks. So that was a demo of the maths features of Learn Anything. You can see how it works very well with simple 2-mark questions like that, but it also allows for flexible marking for longer questions and drawn marking as well. And finally, it does a good job with longer, more complex questions, even when errors are hidden within a large amount of working. Please do try this quiz on Learn Anything itself. It's available publicly, and if you have any questions or comments, please do get in touch.